The value of all property in the city of Miami was $40 billion. Today it's $100 billion. So it's a 150% increase in 7 years. There is not a city in America that has a better long-term trajectory than the city of Miami.
How big can Miami get?
10x.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 43rd Mayor of Miami, Mayor Francis Suarez.
Yeah, if you don't know this guy, you know this guy now. This is a good guy to know right here, okay? He's good. He's got more than mayor in him, I promise you. All right, and he's the best looking mayor in the country. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah. Well, just take it, man. Take it.
I take it.
know?
The universe gives it, I take it.
How long you been mayor?
I've been mayor, I'm going into my 8th year. I was councilman for 8 years before that. I got the city bankrupt. So if all of you remember 08, 09, the world was falling apart. The real estate bubble had burst and the market was tanking. And we had a single year drop in revenue, which was the largest drop in the 100-year history of the city.
Wow.
So day one, I walk in there, they said, hey, I was a commissioner. Commissioner, you have a $115 million deficit. Welcome to Miami. So we decided to do something that I think defined the next 15 years, which was we did not raise taxes. We said we're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to pass this burden on to our residents. We're going to do something very shockingly different. We're going to cut expenses. So the DOGE that you see today, the Department of Government Efficiency at the federal level with Vivek and with Elon, I was the DOGE of Miami 15 years ago.
Wow.
So yes. So thank you.
And how many of you here, you have a business or you bought a business that was negative $115 million? Anybody in the room? This is a good example right now. How did that work? So was everybody telling you you're going to have to raise taxes?
Everyone was telling us we had to raise taxes, particularly our employees who wanted the gravy train to continue. And what we did was we cut salaries, which was tough and sad, but we made it up to them over time. And we cut pension benefits. We have what's called the defined benefits pension system.
Right.
Basically, the city is a guarantor of the pension of its employees, regardless of how it invests its money. So if it invests its money terribly over the long run, we still got to pay. So we put caps on those accumulated benefits. We had people that were, I mean, this is going to freak you out, but we had people that were retiring with more than 100% of their salary for life.
Wow.
Yeah, so we definitely put a stop to that.
Now, is this happening in every city?
It is, and that's why a lot of cities struggle. And a lot of cities are bankrupt, right? And I think the other thing is you don't equate discipline with government, right? There's just like two things that are never in the same sentence, right? You have discipline, you have the ability to make tough decisions. And we did that. And by the way, it was not fun. I mean, I had employees that wouldn't shake my hand for years. And then today, we have the largest fund balance ever. We have the largest annual surpluses ever, and with the lowest tax rate ever. So we lowered our taxes, and we're able to generate revenue from growth, from 10x growth, instead of generating revenue from taxes.
Yeah, I asked him backstage. I said, "Look, how big can Miami get?" Tell him what you told me.
10x.
Like, come on, man, bro. Don't just 10x me just because you had 10x.
And I'm being serious. So we did an analysis, and you can do a FOIA request, a public records search on this. The difference, the delta between what's built in the city, and this is a city, we're in Aventura, a different city, but in the city of Miami, the difference what's built and what can be built is literally a 10-to-1 multiple. So we can get 10 times larger over time, of course. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But the beauty of it is, if you're thinking about investing in a city, and you're thinking about New York or San Francisco or Miami, you can't get that kind of growth in those cities. So the future prospect of Miami, when you build $1 billion building in a city, you're not building $1 billion building for year one. You're building $1 billion building for year 30 and 40 and 50. Right? It's a long-term capital investment. So you're looking at the long-term trajectory of a city. And I would argue that there isn't a city in America, there is not a city in America that has a better long-term trajectory than the city of Miami.
Imagine these are your citizens, okay?
They are my citizens.
Well, I mean, okay, and they just moved into your town, and you're the mayor of their town.
It's hard to imagine.
Okay, what would they do to reach out to you? What would you most want to hear from a new citizen, new business owner, new investor in the local community, so that they could string a relationship with the mayor?
I think most people, maybe some of you have already tried this, but a lot of people realize that it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. So you can message me on Instagram or on Twitter. You can text me. My cell phone is pretty readily available. But what I get is a lot of concerns about quality of life issues. So if a permit takes too long, you're trying to build out your business, your interior build out, and it's taking too long, I usually will get a text message, some sort of an email or an email message like, hey, Mayor, can you help me with this? We are one of the most innovative governments, in my opinion, city governments on the planet. And so we want to be a truly smart city, right? And so that means running the $2 billion corporation that I run with 4,500 employees and 4 labor unions intelligently. We don't just want to have an intelligent ecosystem, we want to have an intelligent city as the promoter of that ecosystem.
And I asked you a question once. I said, what do you think is more difficult? You probably remember this question at your offices. I said, being an entrepreneur running a business or being a mayor running a city?
I actually think being an entrepreneur is a lot harder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a lot harder to be an entrepreneur because there's so much more risk. There's so much more that you have to overcome to be successful. The city or any government, we're a monopoly. We set the tax rate, we get the revenue, and then we should, in theory, spend it efficiently and effectively, right? And then, of course, deregulate or regulate in a way that promotes progress as opposed to gets in your way. Most of the time, governments are getting in your way, getting in the way of progress. So I think if we can do that, we can be a bridge to success. We want to be a bridge to success. We don't want to be a barrier to success, and that oftentimes government stands in the way of success.
Let me ask you this question. How much, and I don't know the answer to this question, you do, how much goods come in from other countries into Miami ports?
We have one of the largest cargo ports in the world. We get a lot from South America, particularly from Colombia and Brazil. I don't know, Colombian Brazilians in the house, any of them? A couple? All right, cool. We get a lot from Colombia and Brazil, a lot from South America. We get a lot from Europe. Obviously, we're now seeing a lot of investment from the US, right? People who are fleeing some of these cities that we talked about. And then we're getting more from the Middle East. And I think what I like to see in my lifetime is direct flights to Asia. I think if we're connected directly to Asia, that's going to open up a huge market for us.
You're talking about travelers.
I'm talking about travels, I'm talking about cargo, I'm talking about everything.
Okay, good.
We have to look at our hemisphere as one economic block, right? We're almost 1 billion people in our hemisphere. China's 1.5 billion, and India's 1.4 billion, right? These are major competitors going into the next generation. And I think when you think about immigration, something that gets talked about a lot in the context of the presidential races, one way to sort of reprioritize immigration is to build strategic partnerships in our own hemisphere to shore up our supply chain, so we're not giving $750 billion annually to China, right, who has become increasingly aggressive vis-a-vis the United States, start creating prosperity in our own hemisphere, create partnerships in our own hemisphere, and that reduces transportation costs. It can be competitive, on a cost basis, and also deprioritizes one of our biggest enemies abroad.
So what is your advice for any of the citizens in the room, okay? One piece of advice would you give them to add value to their city? As a business owner, how can they best bring value to the city?
You can bring value to the city in 2 ways. One is obviously investing in the city, right? Believing in our story and being part of the story. And then I think the second part is, going beyond just the private sector stuff and becoming philanthropists like you have been. I've called on you multiple times, hey, I need your help on this, and you've never told me no, right? And so, once you are successful, you have to pay that success forward. But the other thing I would say, and this is more personal advice, is, guys, we live in an era, and this conference is so important because it's about personal development. We live in an era where there should be no excuse for lack of continued personal development. Whether it's health, we talked about it in the back, whether it's intellectual growth. You're not defined by what school you went to, you're defined by how much effort you put into your own personal development, period, full stop. And you should never, ever stop. You should always challenge yourself, you should always push yourself. Obviously, you want to be a good parent, you want to be a good husband or wife or spouse or whatever, but I also think you should focus a big percentage of your time on personal growth.
What advice would you give anyone in the room, including myself, if they were interested in politics? What would you say?
Do your homework.
What does that mean?
No, I think. Look, I think
Because you guys always say, leave it alone, don't do it. But then all these people do it.
I don't think it's. I don't think that's the right advice either. My view is this. Sorry, it's my phone.
That's all right.
It's not going anywhere. My first piece of advice would be, we need good people, right? Like a $2 billion entity like the city, a $100 billion entity like the state, and a 4.5 spending $6 trillion entity like the federal government needs good people to thrive. Democracy depends on good people, period. Right? It does. It really does. Now, guess what? Our enemies know that too. So our enemies know that the kryptonite to democracy is division. So the more that they can push division on us in a multitude of different ways, create chaos, get us fighting with each other, the more successful they are at infiltrating and diminishing our system of government, our way of life. And so as we grow and progress and mature, we have to be able to find ways to block that sort of infiltration, if you will. So I think that's part of it. I think the second part is you have to have a lot of courage. Listen, when you're building a business, it takes courage. You're dealing with incredible risks. You're putting sometimes your life savings on the line, right? And you're hoping that it works, whatever your idea is. And by the way, sometimes when it doesn't work, you ante up and you do it again, which is why I love the poem If by Rudyard Kipling. If you've never heard it, I would highly recommend everybody read the poem If by Rudyard Kipling, right? And part of it is you lose, you get up, you dust yourself off, and you keep going because you don't know when you're gonna win in the next one. And I think for public policy, for service, it is, and you asked me if I would do it all over again 15 years later. I'm in year 16, and the answer was yes, because I think I've made a real difference. I've been able to help build the ecosystem that I love, that I was born in, and in ways that I never thought possible.
What do you think about real estate? You know how much I love real estate in Florida. What do you think about real estate? How important is it to have real estate here? Why will it continue to go up in value? Why will rents continue to go up? Just give me a case for the positive.
It's so easy to make.
It's
Such
so
an
easy.
Easy case. So I only own real estate, and
It's the only warm weather in the country. The only warm water in the country is right here.
I only own real estate and Bitcoin. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah,
that's all I got. So I'll tell you this, and by the way, that doesn't mean I won't invest in the future in companies that are growing and in stocks, et cetera. But that's all I have right now. When I was elected in 2017, not in 2009, but when I was elected in 2017, mayor, 7 years ago, the value of all property in the city of Miami, all the properties, was $40 billion, the value of all properties. Today it's $100 billion. So it's a 150% increase in 7 years. Okay, that is just value appreciation and new property creation. That is not even the revenue stream that comes from real estate. That's what Kamala would say, the unrealized gains.
Yeah,
right?
And part of that, the 40 became 100 partially because of the printing of paper, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt.
But also
was a part of
because
it.
we have
Inflation was a part of it.
migration coming from California at record rates, Minnesota.
It was demand, it was money supply, and it was actual supply, right? Like we built a ton. So a function of it is,
But
right?
it got consumed, right?
Of course, yeah.
You guys, I don't know if you want to just talk about the office buildings in Brickell, where you have office failing around the country. Office in Brickell is getting the highest rents in the entire nation, including New York.
Yeah, so I mean, back just a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, you could get office space in Brickell for $50 a square foot. Today, in old buildings, it's $120 a foot. In older buildings. In Coconut Grove, there is zero availability. Zero. Like, there's nothing available. So, that's obviously a huge driver of prices, and we have to continue to supply, and we can grow, like I said, 10x. So we have a beautiful future ahead of us. We just have to continue to monetize our values, our value set, which is, we're pro-capitalism, we're pro-law enforcement, we're pro-America, we're low taxes, we're safety, and we're innovation. That's all we do.
And any of you that want to move down to Florida, okay, this is going to be your new friend and your mayor. We welcome you here. We want you here.
Guys, God bless you guys.
Give him a big hand, Mayor Francis Suarez.
Thank you, guys.